Ever toss something in the bin and think, hold on, did that need to go in recycling?
Happens all the time.
Yeah,
It's like that little voice of doubt.
it is. And today's deep dive is all about uncovering the truth behind those recycling habits. Because I think we all have those little doubts sometime about
Yeah.
whether our good intentions are actually making a difference.
For sure.
You know.
Absolutely. And the good news is we've got some fascinating data to work with today.
Okay.
Straight from the UK.
Excellent.
We'll be unpacking some recent stats from WRAP,
Okay.
which is the Waste and Resources Action Program.
Right.
And we'll also get some insights directly from their CEO.
Perfect. Now, I am ready to dive in.
Okay.
So give us the lay of the land. What's the overall recycling picture in the UK these days?
Well, at first glance, things actually seem pretty positive.
Okay.
9 out of 10 people in the UK
Wow.
say they recycle regularly,
Okay.
which is a significant majority.
Yep.
So it really indicates a strong public desire to do the right thing.
Okay. That is encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
there's always a but, isn't there?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Because self-reported behavior
Yeah.
doesn't always line up with reality, right?
Right.
What people believe they're doing
Yeah.
and what's actually happening in those recycling bins
Yeah.
can often be two different stories.
That's where I suspect those shocking stats come in.
Exactly.
So lay it on me. How big is this gap between intention and action?
Okay, so brace yourself because WRAP released some figures that really highlight this disconnect.
Oh, wait.
UK households are sending over 9 billion.
Wow.
Yes, billion with a B. Recyclable items to landfill or incineration every single year.
9 billion. That's almost impossible to comprehend.
It's a lot.
It's a huge number.
It is.
To put that into perspective for our listeners, what kind of everyday items are we talking about here?
Okay, so think about those yogurt pots that you finish and top. Over 7 billion of those end up in the wrong place every year.
It's so easy to think, well, it's just one yogurt pot. It's fine.
Exactly. But those ones add up fast.
do.
Then there are those cleaning product bottles.
Yeah.
Almost 1 billion of those.
Wow.
Even
Yeah.
even those tiny toiletry tubes,
Right, yeah.
over 500 million.
See, and it's easy to think, oh, those are so small, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But it clearly does.
They all add up.
If so many people are genuinely trying to recycle,
Yeah.
what's causing this disconnect?
Well, it's not always intentional.
Right.
I think confusion plays a huge part.
Okay.
Recycling rules can be surprisingly tricky,
Mm-hmm.
and people aren't always sure what can and cannot be recycled.
That's true.
Right. And then there's wish cycling, which is basically
Yeah.
tossing something in the recycling bin and hoping for the best,
Yeah.
even if you're unsure.
You're total guilty of that.
And then contamination is a major issue as well, because one greasy pizza box can spoil an entire batch of paper recycling.
So it's like that old saying,
Well,
one
this-
bad apple.
One bad apple spoils the whole bunch.
Yeah.
Even a small amount of the wrong materials can really contaminate a whole load of recycling.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So we're recycling, but we're not doing it as effectively as we could be.
We're trying.
Not even close, it sounds like.
There's room for improvement.
Yeah, but before we spiral into eco-despair,
Right.
tell me something hopeful.
Okay.
I hear there's a surprisingly successful recycling story
Yeah.
that involves those coffee pods that many of us use every day.
That's coffee pods. They often get demonized
Oh, yeah.
as environmental nightmares.
Right.
But they actually hold hidden potential.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Okay, so last year, a company called Biotest CH4,
Okay.
which specializes in anaerobic digestion,
Right.
which is a process that uses microorganisms to break down organic waste.
Okay.
They processed almost 500 tons of used coffee grounds
Wow.
collected through a scheme called Podback.
Okay.
And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
The energy generated from those grounds could power more than 4,500 coffee machines
Wow.
for an entire year.
So you're saying my morning coffee
Yeah,
could be powering someone else's.
potentially, yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
It's really cool.
It is.
It showcases how proper recycling can contribute to our energy needs.
Right.
And it's not just energy.
Yeah.
The byproducts from anaerobic digestion can actually be used as biofertilizer
Oh, wow.
in agriculture.
So it's like a double win.
It's a great example of a circular economy in action.
I love that, turning something we consider waste into a valuable resource.
Exactly.
This is what gets me excited,
Yeah.
seeing that innovation turn a problem into an opportunity.
It's inspiring, right?
It is inspiring.
And there are so many other promising developments in the recycling world.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
let's talk about plastics for a moment.
Please do, because
Yeah.
it feels like we hear about the plastic problem constantly.
All the time.
So are there any truly effective solutions out there,
Yeah.
or are we just destined to be wading through plastic forever?
Yeah, it's true. Plastics present a massive challenge.
Yeah.
But there are some really, incredibly promising innovations in recycling.
Okay.
Specifically, something called chemical recycling.
Okay.
That could completely change how we deal with plastic waste.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Right.
What is chemical recycling?
Okay.
And how does it differ from traditional recycling?
So traditionally, recycling plastic has had its limitations.
Right.
Because every time plastic is processed, it kind of degrades a bit.
Right.
Which means it can only be recycled a handful of times.
Okay.
Before it's no longer usable.
Right.
Chemical recycling, however,
Yeah.
breaks down plastics at the molecular level, essentially reverting them back to their original building blocks.
So you're saying we could potentially recycle plastic infinitely
Potentially.
without it degrading?
Yes, exactly.
That seems like a game changer.
It's a newer technology, so it's still early days.
Okay.
But chemical recycling has enormous potential to really revolutionize the plastics industry
Yeah.
and create a truly closed-loop system for these materials.
That's amazing.
Exciting stuff.
It's pretty incredible how something that we once considered waste
Right.
can now be broken down and essentially reborn as a valuable resource again.
Exactly.
Speaking of often overlooked resources,
Yeah.
let's talk about that drawer that everyone seems to have.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the one, it's full of old phones,
Oh, yeah.
tangled cables, that ancient MP3 player that you can't even remember how to use.
Exactly. The museum of outdated tech.
Yes. I think we're all guilty of holding on to those old gadgets
Oh, 100%.
a little longer than we should.
Yeah, for sure.
But you're saying our nostalgic hoarding could actually be a good thing.
Potentially, yeah. Because research from Material Focus
Okay.
suggests there's a gold mine, or rather, a copper mine, just sitting in our homes.
Okay.
All those electronics contain valuable materials, and copper is a big one.
Okay, but why is copper so important?
Okay.
I know it's used for wiring and pipes and things.
Yep.
But is it really that crucial?
Yeah, it's absolutely critical for building the renewable energy infrastructure.
Okay.
We need to transition away from fossil fuels.
Okay.
Think like wind turbines,
Right.
solar panels, electric vehicle charging stations.
Yeah.
They all require a significant amount of copper.
So that old phone that I'm clinging to for sentimental reasons
Yeah,
could have a second life as part of a wind turbine.
potentially, yeah.
That's incredible. But I'm guessing chucking it in the recycling bin with my yogurt containers
Yeah.
isn't going to cut it, right?
Right. E-waste recycling is a bit more complicated than traditional recycling. We're not just talking about copper.
Right.
Electronics contain a variety of critical materials,
Yeah.
many of which are really challenging to extract and process responsibly.
Right. And e-waste often contains hazardous materials, too.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's the best way to ensure our old electronics are recycled properly and don't end up in a landfill somewhere?
I think awareness is a huge factor.
Okay.
We need to shift our thinking and start seeing these devices
Yeah.
not as disposable gadgets,
Yeah.
but as containers of valuable resources
Yeah.
that can be recovered and reused if we handle them responsibly.
Okay.
Many retailers now actually have e-waste recycling programs.
Oh, okay.
And you can often donate old but functional devices to charities
Oh, nice.
who can, put them to good use.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing the hidden value in the things we often discard without a second thought.
Exactly.
And it sounds like a little research goes a long way.
Absolutely, yeah. When in doubt, check with your local recycling center. They'll be able to provide some guidance.
It's like that old saying, knowledge is power.
It's true.
The more we know about proper recycling and e-waste disposal,
Yeah.
the better choices we can make.
Exactly.
But I have to admit, it can feel overwhelming to think about all the things we're currently doing wrong.
Right?
Those billions of yogurt pots, those
Yeah.
drawers full of old electronics.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin to make a difference?
It's true. It's easy to get bogged down in the enormity of the problem.
It is.
But I think it's important to remember that every little bit helps.
Yeah.
You don't have to solve the entire global recycling crisis overnight.
Right.
Start with small changes in your own life.
I like that.
Yeah.
Small changes, big impact.
Exactly.
So, for our listeners who might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now, what's one small, manageable change they can make this week to up their recycling game?
Honestly,
Yeah.
just taking a moment to look at those recycling labels can make a big difference.
Oh, totally. I know I've definitely been guilty of having that internal debate, like, is this really recyclable?
Happens to the best of us.
Better to just chuck it in the trash, just in case, right?
Yep. I get it. It can be so confusing. But a lot of times, those labels are clearer than we think.
True, true.
And hey, many local councils even have all that info right on their websites these days.
Oh, that's handy.
Super easy to check. Plus, there's some really great apps out there that can tell you exactly how to recycle different items.
Oh, wow. Based on where you live and everything?
Yep. It's like having a personal recycling coach right in your pocket.
That's amazing. Technology to the rescue. And hey, even if we only rescue a few extra yogurt containers or coffee pods from the landfill each week, those small actions really do add up over time.
100%.
Speaking of which, you've inspired me. I'm going to tackle that drawer full of old electronics this week.
Awesome. Every little bit counts. Every phone, every cable, every piece of e-waste recycled properly really does make a difference.
It all comes back to that awareness, right?
Yep, being mindful of those everyday choices.
Absolutely. Well, this has been such an eye-opening deep dive. Thanks for walking us through all the complexities and the hope in the world of recycling.
It's been a pleasure. Always great chatting with you.
And for our listeners, remember, small changes can make a big difference. Until next time, happy recycling.